Imagine this. You boot up your favorite game after nearly a decade of stability. Your mods are perfectly tuned. Your save file has hundreds of hours invested. You've built settlements, collected every bobblehead, mastered every build. Then the developer releases an improvement update and suddenly everything is broken. Your mods don't work, your game crashes, your saves might be corrupted, and the developer radio silence for 18 months. This isn't a horror story, this is what Bethesda did to Fallout 4. What you're about to witness is one of the most baffling cases of self-sabotage in gaming history. A company that made over $1 billion from a single game franchise decided to fix a game that wasn't broken, charging more money for less functionality, and alienating the very community that kept their game alive for nearly a decade. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how Bethesda turned a beloved classic into a cautionary tale, and why the gaming industry needs to learn from this disaster before it's too late. Let's break down what happened, why it matters, and what it means for the future of gaming. Let's establish the facts. Fallout 4 launched on November 10th, 2015. Within the first 24 hours, Bethesda shipped 12 million copies to retailers worldwide. By the end of its first week, the game generated over $750 million in revenue. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire opening weekend of Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which was released the same year. The game went on to sell approximately 25 million copies across all platforms, making it one of the best-selling games of the 8th console generation. Critics gave it strong reviews. It holds an 87 on Metacritic for PC, 88 for PlayStation 4, and 87 for Xbox One. Players were generally satisfied too, with the game maintaining a very positive rating on Steam for years. But here's what's crucial to understand. Fallout 4 wasn't just a commercial success, it became a platform. Bethesda designed the game with extensive modding capabilities from day one. The creation kit was released in April 2016, just 5 months after launch, giving modders official tools to create custom content. The modding community exploded. Within the first year, over 10,000 mods were created. By 2020, that number exceeded 50,000 mods on Nexus Mods alone. These weren't just cosmetic tweaks. Modders created entire quest lines, new companions, gameplay overhauls, graphics enhancements, and quality of life improvements that Bethesda never implemented themselves. Here's the critical insight. By 2018, 3 years after release, the majority of Fallout 4's active player base was primarily engaged with modded content. Steam statistics showed that while the base game's concurrent players dropped from launch peaks of over 470,000 to around 15,000, 20,000, these remaining players were disproportionately using mods. The community had essentially taken ownership of the game's longevity. Bethesda supported this. They released the final piece of official DLC Nuka World in August 2016, and then largely left the game alone. This was the implicit contract. Bethesda made the game, sold the season pass, released their content, and then handed the keys to the community. For nearly 8 years, this arrangement worked perfectly. The game was stable, the modding ecosystem was mature, players knew what they were getting, and Bethesda, they moved on to other projects like Fallout 76, Starfield, and continued development of The Elder Scrolls 6. Everything was fine, until April 2024. On April 25th, 2024, Bethesda released what they called the next-gen update for Fallout 4. The timing seemed deliberate. The Fallout TV show on Amazon Prime had just premiered on April 10th to massive success, bringing renewed interest to the franchise. Bethesda saw an opportunity. The update was marketed as a free upgrade, bringing the game to current generation consoles with performance improvements and quality of life enhancements. On paper, it sounded great. Let's examine what players actually received. First, console players on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS did see frame rate improvements. The game could now run at 60 frames per second in performance mode, up from the locked 30 FPS on older hardware. This was genuinely appreciated by console players who had been stuck with previous gen performance. Second, Bethesda included some bug fixes. However, and this is important, these were bugs that the unofficial Fallout 4 patch, a community-made mod, had fixed within weeks of the game's original 2015 launch. Bethesda was essentially taking 9 years to implement fixes that modders had provided for free within the first month. Third, they bundled in some Creation Club content. For context, Creation Club was Bethesda's attempt at monetizing mods. Launched in 2017, these were small, paid add-ons, mostly weapon skins, armor sets, and minor quest content. The items included in the next-gen update were essentially leftovers, content that hadn't sold well enough on its own, so Bethesda packaged it as a bonus. Finally, they promised ultra-wide monitor support for PC players. This is where things get interesting, the reality. The ultra-wide support launched completely broken. The UI elements were stretched and distorted, making the game unplayable on ultra-wide displays. But here's the kicker. There was already a functioning ultra-wide mod that worked perfectly. What Bethesda did was break the existing mod without providing a working official alternative. It took modders weeks to update their fixes to work around Bethesda's broken implementation. Think about this for a moment. The community had already solved this problem years ago. Bethesda created a new problem while trying to claim credit for solving an already solved problem. But ultra-wide support was just the beginning of the disaster. The mod apocalypse? The update changed the game's executable file structure. This seems technical, but it has massive implications. Fallout 4's most essential mods rely on something called F4C, the Fallout 4 script extender. This tool allows mods to access deeper game functions that normal mods can't reach. When Bethesda changed the executable, they broke F4SE compatibility. Overnight, thousands of mods stopped working. Not just minor cosmetic mods. We're talking about essential fixes, major overhauls, quest mods that people had invested dozens of hours into, and quality of life improvements that made the game playable. The modding community had to scramble. F4SE developers worked around the clock to update their tool. Then every single mod that relied on F4SE needed individual updates. Some modders had moved on from Fallout 4 years ago. Their mods would never be updated. The community developed a workaround called the version rollback mod, which let PC players downgrade to the previous version of Fallout 4. This became essential for anyone who wanted to keep playing with their mod setup. But here's the problem. This solution only worked on PC. Console players who couldn't access previous game versions were stuck with broken mods and no recourse. New bugs introduced. Bethesda didn't just break old functionality, they introduced new problems. The most critical was breaking VATS, the Vault-Tec Assisted Targeting System. VATS is fundamental to Fallout's combat system. It's the signature mechanic that sets Fallout apart from other shooters. After the update, VATS became unreliable. Players reported targeting failures, incorrect damage calculations, and crashes when entering VATS during certain combat scenarios. This wasn't a minor glitch, it broke core gameplay. Crashes increased across the board. Players reported significantly higher crash rates, especially when using certain workshop items or in densely populated areas. Load times increased. Performance actually got worse for many PC players despite the supposed optimization. UI bugs proliferated. The Creation Club menu, ironically the part of the game Bethesda was trying to monetize, became unstable. Players couldn't properly browse or download purchased content. Save file corruption emerged as the most devastating issue. Players with hundreds of hours invested found their saves unloadable. Imagine playing a game for 9 years, building up a character, completing quest lines with modded content, only to have it all wiped out by an improvement update. The Skybox Mystery. Perhaps most bizarrely, the update introduced graphical glitches identical to issues that plagued Fallout 76 at its disastrous 2018 launch. Skybox rendering errors, lighting bugs, and weather system failures that Bethesda had already encountered and supposedly fixed in another game were now appearing in Fallout 4. This suggests one of two things. Either Bethesda's different development teams don't communicate about solved problems, or they were copy-pasting code from Fallout 76 without proper quality control. Neither explanation is reassuring. The May patch, false hope. On May 3rd, 2024, Bethesda released a patch claiming to address issues from the next-gen update. It fixed some minor problems. It did not fix VATS. It did not fix ultra-wide support. It did not restore mod compatibility. Worse, it broke mods again. The patch changed the executable once more, meaning Forest and all dependent mods needed another round of updates. This created a chilling effect in the modding community. Modders began to wonder, if Bethesda keeps updating the game, why should I bother fixing my mods? They'll just break again next month. Many modders decided to wait. They held off on updating their content, anticipating more patches. They were being cautious, trying to avoid wasted effort. Then Bethesda went silent, completely silent. 18 months of silence. From May 2024 to November 2025, Bethesda released no further patches for Fallout 4. VATS remained broken. Ultra-wide support remained broken. The new bugs introduced by the next-gen update remained in the game. Console mod support remained unreliable. More bugs were discovered as the community tested the game extensively. Modded NPCs caused severe stuttering. The more NPCs in an area, the worse the performance. Console players found they couldn't search for mods properly, or in some cases, download any mods at all. Bethesda said nothing. No acknowledgement of the issues, no roadmap for fixes, no communication whatsoever. The message was clear. Bethesda had broken the game, failed to fix what they broke, and simply abandoned it in a worse state than before the update. We need to talk about Fallout London because it perfectly illustrates Bethesda's relationship with their community. Fallout London is a total conversion mod, essentially a fan-made game using Fallout 4's engine. It's set in post-apocalyptic London with an entirely new map, new factions, new quests, professional voice acting, and original writing. The project took a team of volunteers over 4 years to create. The mod was scheduled to release on April 23rd, 2024, 2 days before Bethesda announced the next-gen update would release on April 25th. Think about the optics here. A massive, free, community-made love letter to Fallout was about to launch after years of development. Bethesda scheduled an update that would inevitably break that mod to release just 2 days later. The Fallout London team had no choice but to delay. They needed to wait for the next-gen update to release, then for F4SA to update, then for all the dependency mods to update, then they could finally update their own mod to work with the new version. The delay pushed Fallout London's release back months, from April to July 25th, 2024. When it finally launched, the response was overwhelming, over 500,000 downloads in the first 24 hours. Reviews were universally positive, major gaming outlets covered it extensively. Players called it the best Fallout content since New Vegas. Bethesda's response? Nothing. Well, almost nothing. Todd Howard, Bethesda's director and the public face of Fallout, was asked about Fallout London in an interview. His answer: "I've only seen some videos online, I have not played it." This is the creative director of Fallout saying he hasn't played what many consider the best Fallout content in years. Content that hundreds of thousands of people downloaded. Content that kept his game relevant. Why the silence? The community has theories. Some argue legal liability. If Bethesda officially endorses a mod, they might assume legal responsibility for its content. But this doesn't hold up because Bethesda has praised mods before, just selectively. The more cynical interpretation is simpler. Fallout London is free, it can't be monetized, and it proves that the best Fallout content doesn't come from Bethesda anymore. Consider the pattern. Since Bethesda acquired Fallout from Interplay, Fallout 3, 2008, good but divisive among hardcore fans. Fallout New Vegas, 2010, made by Obsidian, widely considered the best modern Fallout. Fallout 4, 2015, commercially successful, critically mixed among fans. Fallout 76, 2018, disastrous launch, gradually improved. Fallout TV show, 2024, made by Amazon, massive critical and commercial success. Fallout London, 2024, made by fans, universally praised. Notice the pattern? The most acclaimed Fallout content comes from outside Bethesda. New Vegas wasn't made by them. The TV show wasn't made by them. Fallout London wasn't made by them. Acknowledging Fallout London means acknowledging that Bethesda isn't the best steward of their own IP, and that's a truth they seem unwilling to confront. In November 2025, Bethesda released the Anniversary Update to celebrate Fallout 4's 10th anniversary. After 18 months of silence following the broken next-gen update, players hoped this would finally fix the lingering issues. What the Anniversary Update actually did. First, it reverted some of the next-gen update's features. Read that again. Bethesda's anniversary celebration included removing things they'd added just 18 months earlier. This is their idea of improvement, undoing their own previous work. Second, it broke mods again. The executable changed once more. F4SE needed another update. Thousands of mods needed updates. Console players faced another round of compatibility issues. Third, the Creation Club integration remained broken for many players. People who had purchased DLC content years ago found they couldn't access what they'd paid for. Fourth, the PlayStation version specifically suffered unique bugs too numerous to list here, rendering the game nearly unplayable for some PS5 owners. The price increase. But here's where it gets truly insulting. Alongside the anniversary update, Bethesda increased Fallout 4's base price from $19.99 to $59.99 for the new anniversary edition. Let's be clear about what you get for that $60. The base game from 2015, the same DLC from 2016, and approximately 150 creations, mostly low-effort cosmetic items, weapon skins, and armor retextures that the modding community has created better versions of for free. The marketing targets new players drawn in by the TV show. You've just watched the Fallout series on Amazon, you're excited about the franchise, you see Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition for $60. You don't know that the game was $20 just months ago. You don't know that most of those 150 creations are filler content. You don't know that free mods offer better versions of everything included. You're being charged triple the previous price for a game that's in a worse state than it was before Bethesda started improving it. The creation scam. Let's break down what these 150 creations actually are. The majority are purely cosmetic items. Pip-Boy skins, power armor paints, weapon skins. These are items that add no gameplay value and exist primarily in a single-player game where nobody else will see your cosmetic choices. In multiplayer games, cosmetic microtransactions have a social component. You buy a skin to show off to other players. There's a psychological appeal to standing out in a crowd. But Fallout 4 is single player. The only person who sees your modded Pip-Boy skin is you. And here's the kicker. For almost every Creation Club item, there's a free mod on Nexus that does it better. Want new weapons? Free mods have entire arsenals. Want settlement building improvements? Free mods have transformed the system. Want new quests? Free mods have created hundreds of hours of content. The few creations that do add gameplay content are often mediocre, small quests that take 15 to 30 minutes to complete, minor settlement additions, nothing that justifies the price increase. Bethesda is essentially charging $40 extra for content that the community creates better versions of for free on a game that they've made worse through updates. We need to talk about Todd Howard's public statements because they reveal Bethesda's thinking about all of this. In a BBC interview, Todd was asked about the Fallout TV show's impact on game sales. His response included one of the most revealing statements about Bethesda's business philosophy. For me, I view a season of the show as a Fallout entry. Let's unpack this. Todd Howard, the director of Fallout games, considers a television show season equivalent to a new game in the franchise. This is like saying each season of Game of Thrones is equivalent to releasing a new Elder Scrolls game. It's like claiming that watching a playthrough of Fallout is the same as playing Fallout. It's a fundamental misunderstanding or deliberate obfuscation of what makes interactive media unique. A TV show is passive consumption. A game is active engagement. They're not interchangeable products, and treating them as such reveals that Bethesda is more interested in brand management than in creating actual games. This statement becomes more damning when you realize what it's really saying. We don't need to make new Fallout games because someone else is making TV shows. When the interviewer asked if they hope for increased Steam sales, Todd responded huge, with such enthusiasm that the BBC editors themselves memed it, zooming in on his face at that exact moment. Even mainstream media recognized the absurdity. Here's the contradiction. Todd celebrates the huge sales boost from the TV show, while Bethesda simultaneously breaks the game those new players are buying. They're marketing Fallout 4 aggressively to TV show fans while delivering a product in worse condition than it was a year ago. In another interview, Todd said, "It's kind of like whether you want to play single player. Like we see Fallout 4 is huge for that still, 10 years later. Then stop breaking it, Todd. Your company's interference with Fallout 4 has done nothing but harm it. The game survived for nearly a decade in a stable state because you left it alone. The modding community maintained it. Players were satisfied. Then you released 2 broken updates in the worst possible timing, right when the TV show brought new attention to the franchise." There's a theory circulating in the community that's cynical but worth examining. Bethesda deliberately broke Fallout 4 to funnel players into Fallout 76. Here's the logic. Fallout 76 is a live service game with ongoing monetization. It has a subscription service called Fallout First, cosmetic microtransactions, a battle pass system, and seasonal content designed to keep players engaged and spending money long term. Fallout 4 is a traditional single-player game. You buy it once, maybe buy the DLC, and Bethesda gets no further revenue from you. Worse, from Bethesda's perspective, the thriving free mod community means players have no incentive to buy Creation Club content. If Fallout 4 works perfectly, especially with mods, players have no reason to try Fallout 76. But if Fallout 4 becomes unstable, if mods keep breaking, if the experience becomes frustrating, then maybe players will give Fallout 76 a chance. And conveniently, Fallout 76 has had years of updates since its disastrous 2018 launch. It's in a much better state now, it's playable, it's even somewhat fun if you approach it without expectations from previous Fallout games. Is this provable? No. Is it likely Bethesda sat in a meeting and explicitly decided to sabotage Fallout 4 to boost Fallout 76? Probably not. But does it benefit Bethesda financially if Fallout 4 becomes less stable, and Fallout 76 becomes the more reliable experience for players who want a Fallout fix? Absolutely. Never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence, but also never underestimate a corporation's ability to prioritize profit over player experience. This isn't just about Fallout 4, this is a case study in how the games industry is changing, and not for the better. The death of finished games. There was a time when games were released in a finished state. Once published, they were done. Developers moved on to new projects. This created an implicit trust. You knew what you were buying wouldn't change dramatically after purchase. Digital distribution and automatic updates destroyed this model. Now games can be altered at any time, often without player consent. Sometimes this is positive. Bug fixes, balance improvements, quality of life features, but sometimes it's destructive. Bethesda had left Fallout 4 alone for nearly 8 years. The game was finished. The community had built an entire ecosystem around its stability. Then Bethesda decided to improve it, breaking that stability and providing no net benefit. This is the new reality. You don't really own games anymore. You license them, and the licensor can change the product at will, even if those changes make it objectively worse. The modding community paradox. Bethesda benefits enormously from modders. Free labor creates free content that keeps their games relevant for years beyond their natural life cycle. Skyrim released in 2011 and still maintains an active player base almost entirely because of mods. Fallout 4 follows the same pattern. But Bethesda also wants to monetize modding through Creation Club, and now through the Anniversary Edition's bundled content. This creates a fundamental conflict. Free mods are better than paid content. This is demonstrably true across nearly every category. Free quest mods are more creative and longer than Creation Club quests. Free cosmetic mods offer more variety and customization. Free gameplay overhauls are more ambitious. Bethesda can't compete with their own community in content creation, so they're trying to compete on convenience and accessibility. Sure, free mods exist, but you have to find them, download them, manage load orders. Wouldn't it be easier to just buy this bundle? Except they keep breaking the free mods, making them harder to use, creating artificial friction. It's not a conspiracy, it's just the natural outcome of trying to monetize something the community does better for free. The live service trap. Fallout 76 represents Bethesda's future vision, games as ongoing services with continuous monetization opportunities. This isn't inherently wrong. When done well, live service games can provide years of value. But it creates an incentive structure where traditional single-player games are seen as missed opportunities. Every player enjoying Fallout 4 is a player who could potentially be spending money in Fallout 76. This explains the lack of support for Fallout 4. Why invest resources in fixing a game that generates no ongoing revenue? Why care if mods work when you're trying to sell Creation Club content? The cynical answer is, you don't. You do the minimum, you try to monetize what you can, and you focus resources on the live service game that keeps generating money. The communication failure. Perhaps most damning is Bethesda's complete silence after the May 2024 patch. 18 months without acknowledging the broken state of their game. No community updates, no roadmap, no apologies. This isn't uncommon in the industry, but it's inexcusable. When you break something that was working, the minimum acceptable response is acknowledging the problem and providing a timeline for fixes. Bethesda did neither. They broke the game, failed to fix it properly, then went silent while continuing to sell it at triple the previous price. This is not how you treat customers. This is not how you maintain trust with a community that has kept your game alive for a decade. So what can we learn from the Fallout 4 disaster? For players, first, understand that you don't own digital games in any meaningful sense. You own a license that can be altered or revoked. Games can be changed post-purchase, often for worse. The version you loved might not be the version that exists in 6 months. Second, value stability. The gaming industry pushes constant updates as inherently good, but sometimes leaving things alone is the better choice. Fallout 4 worked fine for 8 years. Every update made it worse. Third, support modders and community creators. They're often doing better work than the original developers for free out of passion. When companies try to monetize modding, remember that free alternatives usually exist and are usually better. Fourth, be skeptical of anniversary editions and re-releases. They're often cash grabs targeting new customers who don't know the game was cheaper before. Do your research before buying. For developers, first, communicate with your community. If you're going to make changes to a game, especially one with a mature modding ecosystem, talk to the people who will be affected. Give modders advance notice. Provide documentation. Listen to feedback. Second, understand what makes your game valuable. Fallout 4's value by 2024 was in its modding ecosystem, not in official updates. Breaking that ecosystem to add minor features shows a fundamental misunderstanding of your product. Third, respect your legacy. Fallout 4 was a success. It sold 25 million copies. It maintained a positive reputation for years. Sometimes the best thing you can do is leave success alone rather than trying to extract more value from it. Fourth, if you're going to update an old game, test thoroughly. The next-gen update and anniversary update both felt rushed and untested. Basic functionality was broken. This is inexcusable for a company of Bethesda's size and resources. For the industry, first, we need better standards around post-release game changes. Players should have some protection against destructive updates. Maybe an option to refuse updates. Maybe legal requirements for supporting older versions. Something. Second, the relationship between companies and modding communities needs clarification. Companies benefit from free content creation, but also want to monetize it. These incentives conflict. We need clearer guidelines about what's acceptable. Third, live service games are not the only viable model. Single-player games can be profitable without ongoing monetization. Respecting that model instead of trying to force everything into a service framework would benefit everyone. Fourth, communication standards need to improve industry-wide. When you break something, acknowledge it. When you can't fix it immediately, say so. When you're changing course, explain why. The silent treatment is not acceptable. Bethesda's handling of Fallout 4 from April 2024 onward represents nearly everything wrong with modern game development. A company that should know better broke a working product, failed to fix what they broke, went silent for 18 months, and raised the price. The modding community, as always, saved the day. The version rollback mod let PC players escape to the functional previous version. Modders updated their work to accommodate Bethesda's changes. The community documented problems, shared solutions, and kept the game playable despite Bethesda's interference. This is the pattern with Bethesda games. They create broken products, and the community fixes them. Fallout 3, New Vegas, Skyrim, and Fallout 4 all have unofficial patch mods that fix hundreds of bugs Bethesda never addressed. The difference is that usually Bethesda has the decency to leave the game alone once the modders have fixed it. With Fallout 4, they kept interfering, breaking fixes, creating new problems, and showing contempt for the community that maintained their game's relevance. The message to Bethesda is simple. Leave Fallout 4 alone. You already did for 8 years. It worked. The game thrived. Modders fixed it. That was the plan all along. You have Fallout 76 for your live service monetization. You have the TV show for your brand expansion. Let the single-player games be what they are. Finished products that the community can enjoy and enhance. And to the community, thank you. Thank you to every modder who updated their work despite Bethesda's interference. Thank you to the F4SE team who maintained compatibility through every broken update. Thank you to the creators of Fallout London who delivered the Fallout content Bethesda couldn't. Thank you to the players who documented bugs, shared solutions, and refused to let this game die. Bethesda may have created Fallout 4, but the community saved it. If you made it this far, you understand the full scope of what happened. This isn't just a story about a buggy update. It's about the relationship between game companies and their communities. It's about the monetization of passion. It's about what happens when corporations prioritize extraction over creation. The Fallout 4 situation is a warning. This can happen to any game you love. Companies can and will change products you've purchased if they see a financial incentive. The only defense is an informed, vocal community that refuses to accept it. Support modders. Support community creators. Push back against destructive updates. Demand better communication. Refuse to pay premium prices for downgraded products. The game industry only gets better when players demand better. If you found this analysis valuable, consider sharing it. The more people understand these patterns, the harder it becomes for companies to exploit them. And Bethesda, if somehow you're listening, it's not too late. You could fix VATS. You could restore ultra-wide support properly. You could stabilize the game. You could communicate with your community. You could lower the price back to reasonable levels. You won't, but you could. Thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you've experienced similar situations with other games. And remember, in gaming, just like in Fallout, war never changes. But maybe if we speak up loud enough,